People are talking about V and JK running together, and if people believe they actually were seen together, we have some photos of JK trending on Instagram, as well as HYBE allegedly removing a scene from Are You Sure that might reveal something. We will get into each of these today. So hey Dumplings, this is Dave Disci. Let's get into it. We have a photo that's been trending on Instagram. This photo is funny because it was posted on the Calvin Klein Instagram page. And of course, as we know, JK is one of the ambassadors, potentially one of the bigger ambassadors of the company right now. The photo sparked a lot of attention as people thought it was really funny. As on the Instagram page, if you go to the page where you can see all of the photos posted, you'll notice that all of the models are shirtless or showing specific body parts and all of that sort of stuff. And then for JK, it's just a selfie appearing thing. People were laughing about this because they were like, well, why couldn't they just post a shirtless picture or video and make the feed look a little bit more cohesive? And it's not like JK hasn't done a campaign or this campaign without taking his shirt off before. He has taken his shirt off for these ads. Even though prior to all of this, people were speculating that if the members ever did a Calvin Klein shoot, it would likely be with all of them clothed. So this kind of fits into that previous narrative and sort of makes a joke about that again. So there's a lot of lore here, if you will. And I didn't know about specific companies and what their individual rules and stuff are, because every single company has their own set of social media rules and branding rules that they like to follow. But a lot of brands don't really care about what the page looks like, but they care about what the individual photos look like. And if the individual photos or thumbnails and the models that are in those photos are aligned with the company's brand, but also maybe the specific model's brand, the model, and if the model's really famous. So for JK's case, the company would obviously have to put his brand in consideration and probably in their contract, but also because Calvin Klein knows exactly what they're doing. They know that they want to post photos that appeal to the Korean demographic, but also appeals to the BTS community. And this isn't to say that the BTS community would hate a shirtless picture, but perhaps the more Korean community would dislike something that was more overtly raunchy. And then, of course, we are able to connect better to JK when he has more personal photos like a selfie and that sort of stuff. And it seems like Calvin Klein knows that they're aware that the community just waits for new selfies. And every time a new selfie drops, people freak out, they ask for more, but they also trend all that stuff. So Calvin Klein's really doing a smart thing here. Chances are we've also seen all of the photos that JK is shirtless in, and so any of those photos would not be particularly new photos. And I want to make it clear that this was not a photo. The thumbnail that we are seeing on the front page links to a reel, but it kind of looks like a photo if you're just looking at the page. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. And then in the actual photo, JK is not taking off his shirt in it either. But I love it. I love the thumbnail. I love the jokes that the community is making about this. I hope that JK and Calvin Klein do more shoots together. This looks like it was from an older shoot, and so we need to get JK back into that Calvin Klein studio and hopefully get more stuff to come out soon. There are also so many cute moments that are online, and one of the cute moments that I also want to address was a moment from Are You Sure, or AYS, that a lot of people believe was deleted and that HYBE removed. This was a moment in which JK and V were in a car sitting next to each other, and they were sitting in the back seat, so it didn't look like either of them were driving. And it appeared like V had his arm kind of laying down on the armrest, but it was outward, so it wasn't kept within his personal little space, but it was kind of rearing closer to JK, particularly where JK's legs or thighs might have been. We can't fully see exactly how V had his arm because that part was cut off the video, and essentially his upper forearm to wrist and then hand, that was all cut off. And then since JK was just sitting there and potentially had his legs out, it was believed that V had his arm on JK's leg. I don't know whether you believe he was touching his leg or whatever it was. That's not really what I'm here to debunk, but that is more so whatever your opinion is on that. I don't know if the label is cutting this out because they don't want the community to see this, or if they were trying to hide this particular moment. But at the end of the day, the clip surfaced online and it was seen, which they must have known this stuff was going to happen. And clips like this often are cut from the show or shows because it doesn't really add anything to the show aside from it just being a cute moment that people might like. It doesn't really feed into the storyline or really contribute much. It's a traveling scene, right? And that's kind of how the label might see it as. I'm sure a lot of people would have preferred if this clip was in, but you know, the label sometimes makes their decision on what to cut. And as someone who has been an editor for many years and has worked for different stations and all that stuff, I can tell you sometimes what they want to cut doesn't always make the most sense. For reality TV, especially in America, the things that they have to cut are typically just the boring moments, the moments that don't add anything to the story, because reality TV in America is very much scripted. Reality TV in Korea is not as much, and I don't exactly fully know what they cut out. and what specific scenes make the cut, because all of it would be considered not a story and not dramatic. It's supposed to be something where we feel like we're hanging out with the celebrity, so it's kind of supposed to feel boring, sort of, but it's not boring. If you like the celebrity, and you're going to find it interesting. So it's up to you to debate why things were cut. In my opinion, it was just a traveling scene, so maybe they didn't want to have so much focus on the travel, and they just wanted to show a little bit of the travel and then the location and then doing stuff at the location. So they cut out a bunch of stuff. This probably wasn't even the only thing that they cut out. Such is my theory, my assumption on that. I don't know if the label is against showing moments like this, but I'll leave that up to you and what you decide to think of that. There's been a lot of fuss online or discussion about what happened with V recently. He was seen out and about jogging, and he had mentioned that he wanted to do that, and he was with a group of people that a lot of people assumed was the Wooga Squad members. You could not see any of them aside from V. They were all completely covered up. So a lot of the theories started to circulate on who these people were, and a lot of people started believing specific people were specific people based on their body shape. Now, there's many theories floating around. One of them was simply that none of these people were famous, and they covered up because they knew that V would be seen, and thus they don't want to be seen and trend online with him. And then other theories were that it was particular members from other groups, or just people that were a bit random but were celebrities. And of course, we're going to get into that. And then the other theory, which I think is the most likely one, is just that a lot of K-pop idols do this to not just avoid being recognized, because obviously in this case we can see V, so people are going to recognize them, but often to cover up when they jog, so that when there's harsh winds and stuff, it avoids damage on their skin and things like that. Also covering up so they don't get any sun damage and that sort of stuff as well. Now, it was believed right after the jog, I guess someone followed them, I don't really know what happened there, but someone posted a photo of all of them at Korean barbecue. And again, I don't know if this is the same person that initially caught them and then followed them to Korean barbecue, or if this was a different person that had just spotted them and decided to take a picture. But it was believed he was with a member of NCT. And then I'm not so familiar with the other people, but essentially none of the members from the squad. Other people had a theory that one of the members was JK and he was just really covered up. Some people had pointed to the fact that the Wooga Squad formed as one person kept just bringing other people into the group, and they essentially just created the group like that. So when one person in the group likes another person, they all just kind of like that person as well, and they welcome them. So a lot of people who thought that this was the Wooga Squad thought that JK was brought into the squad just to have fun and all of those things, and that this was just another cute moment that V was showing love to JK because V likes to bring him along, and people have that evidence to show that. V usually brings JK along on several different occasions, and of course I'm not going to argue with that. He obviously does that. However, as of right now, we can't really see anybody's faces or fully know who exactly was there, so I will leave that up to debate as to whether or not you want to believe who you think in the group is running with who. I hope that whoever it was, that they had a great time and that they had fun jogging and having a moment together. It seems like V is enjoying inviting people to run with him, and it's probably a way for him to catch up with some of those people without needing to do a formal sit-down thing and without it being this huge production where a lot of them might not have time for. They are all people who are in the industry, so they likely, of course, need to work out and be healthy and all of that, like we all should. But of course, people in the industry, it's kind of their job to do that. So they have to work out anyway. They might as well work out together. And I think that that's kind of what they're seeing this as and how they're feeling about this situation. Sometimes it just kind of feels like a waste of time for people who are self-employed to hang out with friends because you could just be working. But this is something that they have to do anyway, so they might as well just do it together, and I love that. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts. Make sure you check out Patreon. I'll leave a link at the top of the description. Thank you so much for this lovely comment right here. Love you. Bye.